And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, Donald Trump is pounding the campaign trail, ramping up his rhetoric against Hillary Clinton. Let's take a look.
Did you see over the weekend Fox, Chris Wallace, where she lied, where she said the FBI director said like everything was just perfect? It wasn't exactly. I mean, she lied. She pure and simple. She only knows to lie. We have people that don't know what they're doing. Hillary Clinton will be worse. She'll be worse. You know, she wants to play the tough one. She's not tough. She's not tough. I know tough people. She's not tough. I mean, she's just doing the handlers. They push her from place to place. She's going to keep Obamacare. She's going to let people continue to pour into our country, and we have no idea who the hell they are. She's going to let the Syrian refugees come in, and we don't know if they're ISIS. We have no idea. It's going to be the all-time great Trojan horse. They come in by the thousands. Therefore, I can't imagine that the people of Loudoun are going to be voting for crooked Hillary Clinton.
And also tonight, the liberal mainstream media, they're now hysterical after Donald Trump said Bernie Sanders made a deal with the devil by supporting Hillary Clinton. Here's what he said.
He made a bad deal. He should have not made a deal. He would have gone down and done something really important. Once he made that deal, and believe me, he has buyer's remorse. You know, this guy has buyer's remorse. He looked at that, and he was so angry when they were talking about him, and his people are angry at him, and they should be. If he would have just not done anything, just go home, go to sleep, relax, he would have been a hero. But he made a deal with the devil. She's the devil. He made a deal with the devil.
Here with reaction, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. Mr. Speaker, good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, I'm going to play Hillary lying on Fox News Sunday later. You just can't miss the opportunity. But playing it or not playing it, even a CNN ORC poll that came out shows that, do you think Hillary Clinton is honest and trustworthy? Here are the numbers. 64% say no. 34% say yes. I don't know about the 1% that have no opinion, but how do you get elected president and have two-thirds of the American people surveyed think you're a liar?
Well, I think what she's got to do is, with Barack Obama's help, is try to shrink Donald Trump so that he becomes smaller. She can't build herself up. She's not going to convince most of that 64% that she's honest. So she has to convince them that Trump is more dangerous than she is. That while she is, somebody said earlier that he's dangerous because you don't know what he's going to do, and you know she's stable because she's a crook and she's a liar, but at least she's a stable crook and liar. And I think that's sort of their whole game plan, is to make Trump unacceptable so people reluctantly vote for Hillary.
All right. Now, a war of words is broken out between the president, who I would argue in every measure, we have the lowest home ownership rate in 51 years. We got 1 in 5 American families, not a single member in the family working. He's now accumulated more debt than every other president before him combined, millions more in poverty, millions more in food stamps. But you know, the former community organizer who went to the church at GD America and hung out with Ayers and Dorn, he says Trump's unfit to be president. We'll play that and Trump's response.
I think the Republican nominee is unfit to serve as president. I said so last week, and he keeps on proving it. The fact that he doesn't appear to have basic knowledge around critical issues in Europe, in the Middle East, in Asia, means that he's woefully unprepared to do this job.
All right, Trump responded, and he said the following. He said, Obama and Clinton have single-handedly destabilized the Middle East, handed Iraq, Libya, Syria to ISIS, and allowed our personnel to be slaughtered at Benghazi. He further goes on to say that then they put Iran on the path to nuclear weapons. Then they allowed dozens of veterans to die waiting for medical care that never, ever came. And he continues, Hillary Clinton put the whole country at risk with her illegal email server, deleted evidence of her crime, and lied repeatedly about her conduct, which endangered all of us. And then he said, they have betrayed our security, our workers, and Hillary Clinton has proven herself unfit to serve in any government office. Is it a case where it seems that now Obama's more invested than ever, desperate almost, to engage Trump. And the one thing he seems to like to do is give speeches and get in political fights.
Well, I think that the left, whether it's the news media, the Clinton campaign, or Obama, the left thinks they have a chance now to define Trump around this whole con issue and make him unacceptable. I mean, this is, in a sense, if you think back to Senate races, this is their Todd Aiken moment. If they can define him into a box, then he can't get out of the box and he loses the election, no matter how bad Hillary is. The problem for the president is, and I hope that Trump will take him head on about this. This is a president when he talks about not knowing things. He didn't know that you couldn't keep your doctor, that he was lying. He didn't know that the red lines in Syria were going to disappear. He didn't know that the Russians were going to take Crimea. He didn't know that Iraq was going to collapse. He still doesn't know that 3,400 Americans have been killed in his hometown of Chicago since he became president. You go down the list of things that Barack Obama doesn't know, and it is astonishing the arrogance and the demagoguery of this man in just sweeping away others. I mean,
yeah.
I think that the Obama presidency will be looked back upon as one of the great failures in American history.
You know, I love your historical background and the context and texture. You run everything through the prism of the knowledge you've accumulated. In your mind, frame this election and what's at stake. I have the way I frame it, but I'm more interested in how you would frame this entire election.
Well, we're going to end up with two really very different choices. We're going to have an establishment figure who bears all of the corruption, all of the inside dealings, all of the baggage of an establishment that's decaying. And we're going to have an outsider who has all of the challenges and the weaknesses of somebody who's truly outside the system, but is the only real hope of shaking up and potentially profoundly changing the current system. Now, that's about as big a choice. This goes back to Andrew Jackson probably in 1828. In some ways, it goes back to Lincoln versus the old order in 1860. Maybe FDR versus Herbert Hoover in 1932. I mean, this is a bigger choice than Reagan versus Carter in 1980.
You know, I give the list. I mean, look how profoundly different they are on the issue of Supreme Court justices. Look how profoundly different they are. One wants amnesty and no immigration laws for the most part whatsoever, and one's going to build a wall. One's going to increase refugees 550%, and one is going to make sure we can vet them properly so what happened in Belgium and France, Germany, and Europe doesn't happen here. School choice, send it back to the states. Obamacare, eliminate health care savings accounts. Radical Islam, even acknowledging it, for crying out loud, is such a profound difference. I just wonder, you know, where the public is on this. In other words, I heard a lot of cliches and platitudes at the Democratic convention, and I heard a lot of reality at the Republican convention.
Well, look, I think what you've got right now, and you saw a bounce for Trump after his convention, then washed away by a bounce for Hillary after her convention. What you have is an enormous news media bias. Think of it as a headwind against a sailing ship. They're going to do everything they can to stop Trump. They're going to do everything they can to exaggerate every mistake he makes. And they're going to interpret everything in the worst possible light. And they're doing that both to prop up Hillary and to try to slow down Trump, because they began to realize this spring this guy could really win. And if he wins, he really will change their world. It will be very different.
Democrats privately have told me that there's a lot of sweating going on in Democratic ranks. They too believe that Trump could win. I would argue that this whole issue of Mr. Khan is one of those examples where the media takes a side, because we can see the coverage the week before at the Republican convention, and Pat Smith, she got 70 seconds. The networks gave the whole Khan story nearly an hour's worth of coverage. You know, you can't give that away. You can't buy that amount of coverage. And similarly, the families and mothers that spoke about their children killed by illegal immigrants because we don't fix our broken system, they were ignored by the media. This Khan issue, Donald Trump said, number one, this kid was a hero. He said that he had no issue with the father. He said he was not talking about the Khans when he was talking about vetting refugees. How did it blow up into this?
Well, I think one of the lessons Ronald Reagan learned was you cannot give the elite media an inch, or they will exploit it and they'll reinterpret it in the worst possible light. And Reagan over time became very careful by focusing. He came back and focused on Jimmy Carter. He came back and focused on the big issues. And Trump is going to have to learn that every time he gives the media a chance, they're going to hit him. And they're going to keep hitting him.
Is the answer...
He needs to go back...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Is the answer focus on jobs, economy, immigration, refugees, and issues and protecting the homeland only? Is that the answer?
Well, the answer is, one, to stay with issues, and two, it's okay for him to fight with Obama or with Hillary because they're the same level. Don't fight with people other than Obama and Hillary. But I hope he's going to be very tough with Obama, because what Obama said today in the White House, standing next to a foreign leader, I thought was pretty despicable for a president of the United States to be that harsh about his potential successor.
Well said.
I mean, talk about undermining the United States of America. Barack Obama potentially did that today.